Have you ever wondered why a man grows distant just when he seems to want you the most? Why his silence is louder than his words? Why his gaze lingers but his hands stay still? Why the more he obsesses, the more he hides? Some women feel this without knowing its name. The way a man wraps desire in detachment. The way love arrives clothed in fear. But this isn't about logic, it's about what lives beneath it, in the shadow. In every man lives a shadow. Carl Jung knew this truth before the world was ready to face it. The shadow is not the villain. It is simply the part of the self that was never allowed to speak. And when a man meets a woman who stirs his unconscious, that shadow begins to whisper. Not in words, but in withdrawal, control, intensity, obsession. This woman, often soft, often still, becomes a mirror. Not of who he is, but of who he denies. She doesn't chase, she doesn't explain. She simply exists in her own field of power, and that alone is unbearable for the parts of him that have never known feminine presence without demand. He begins to feel things he cannot name. Old wounds surface, unattended emotions from his mother, his first love, the girl who left without apology. He doesn't know he's projecting, but the unconscious always knows. The Stoics said we are not disturbed by events, but by our interpretation of them. And so when he feels drawn to her, it is not her beauty or her body that disturbs him. It is what she represents. A threat to his self-concept, a key to his locked places, a danger to the ego that tells him he is always in control. So he hides. He hides his obsession behind casual texts. He hides his yearning behind sarcasm. He hides his fear behind silence. But the body doesn't lie. He flinches when she speaks the truth. He avoids her eyes when they ask for nothing. He disappears when she stands in her full self, unapologetic, unbending, and though he may never admit it, he is obsessed, not with her form but with the feeling she evokes, powerless, exposed, deeply alive. You, the woman who notices, you feel it in his hesitation. You hear it in the pauses between his words. You sense the way he leans forward but never touches, the way he wants to be seen, but only from a distance. You didn't ask for his heart, but it came, frightened and caged. And you, in your stillness, shook something loose, not because you chased, not because you begged, but because you stood. And a woman who stands, without fear, without the need to perform, is the most terrifying thing a fragmented man can encounter. A man who has not done his inner work will project his unlived feminine onto the woman who entrances him. This is the anima, the inner feminine image that dances in the unconscious of every man. She is not real, but she is powerful. And when you match her form, even slightly, he sees you, but not really. He sees the fantasy, the rescuer, the punisher, the mother, the muse, all the faces he never healed, all the women he never understood. He falls in love with an echo, but when you speak and do not echo back, he feels betrayed by your reality. This is why he runs, not from you, but from the truth that you were never his possession, only his reflection. You must understand, this has nothing to do with your worth. Your silence is not rejection. Your detachment is not cruelty. Your power is not manipulation. You are simply no longer willing to perform pain for connection. You no longer dance for crumbs of affection. You no longer twist yourself into someone he can digest without choking, and so he chokes on your presence, on your peace, on the parts of himself that scream louder when you don't bend. A man's ego wants ownership, but his soul longs for communion. The woman who awakens his obsession does not ask for his body. She touches his spirit. She bypasses the game and moves straight into myth. She is not a girl. She is not a test. She is a mirror of the divine feminine, and that is a power most men were never taught to receive. So he hides. He hides the fact that he dreams about her. He hides the way her silence screams in his ears. He hides the moments he rereads old messages just to feel her energy. He hides the rituals checking her status, her page, her world, without ever daring to enter it again. He hides because he's already lost to her, to himself. But you are not waiting. You are not wondering. You are not his unfinished business. You are the woman who turned toward herself. And in doing so, you became the storm and the calm, the ache and the remedy, the one who does not chase because she does not lack. So let him hide. Let him drown in the silence he built. Let his shadow wrestle with the parts of you he couldn't control. Because the woman who knows her worth doesn't chase. She chooses.